Good morning, everyone. You're all very welcome to this morning's webinar. We're just going to give it a few moments to give everyone a chance to log on to the call. I hope you're all doing well. We're nearly there. Wherever there is, it's Thursday. We are nearly there. So you might, just as people are coming in, you might just pop a good morning. I see the good mornings there in the chat, and let us know what the weather is like. We always do a weather report here at Great Place to Work. So early this morning, the sun was a typical Irish day. The sun was shining. Thought it was going to be a great day. Now it's overcast. It's looking like rain. So a typical Irish day we have here ahead of us. Just pop a good morning there into the chat just to let us know you can hear us okay. Morning, Oliver. Thanks for joining us. The sun is shining in the south of France. Well, of course it would be. Is it ever not shining in the south of France? Sunny Cork, Suzanne, thank you very much. Again, is the sun always shining in Cork, the real capital? We have cloudy patches at Ringsend. If I'm starting to sound like the weatherman, apologies. Morning, Jackie. Bit cloudy in Dublin too. That's great. Good morning, everyone. It's overcast at the moment, and Deirdre. What's going to happen in Portarlington? What's going to happen is I think people will stop logging onto the weather and RTE, and they might join our webinars just to get that weather update. Morning, Sinead. Okay, so we'll just give it 1 or 2 more moments just to give everyone a chance to log on, and then we'll begin the webinar, which is an interactive conversation with Joanne from Esri, which we're very much looking forward to. And as always, we appreciate people's time this morning. Join the webinar. Morning, Deirdre. Okay. It looks like most people have had a chance to join the call there. Good morning, everyone. You're all very welcome to this morning's webinar. What we are looking to do this morning is a sort of a real life case study with a client of Great Place to Work, a valued client over a number of years. Great Place to Work, Esri Ireland. So myself and Joanne will have a conversation around their experience with the program, what's worked, the learnings, the insights, and we're looking forward to sharing some valuable content for everyone. So before I introduce, and sorry, just to say to everyone, please make sure to pop your questions into the Q&A function on your screen, and pop it into the Q&A function, and we'll deal with your questions as we're going through it. And thank you very much to the people that submitted questions in advance. We appreciate that. So pop your questions into the Q&A function. So just a few thoughts, comments from myself before I introduce Joanne. We have a webinar coming up on June the 20th, and it's on diversity and inclusion. And one of the things we've heard back from companies and clients and leadership teams is that sometimes there's a fear around the language we can use when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So we've organized this webinar on June the 20th with Human Collective, and we've got an expert panel of people, and we're looking to bring a bit of shared understanding into the importance of language and what language we can use within the workplace when it comes to that important topic of diversity and inclusion. So that's on June the 20th, a Thursday as well. So keep an eye out for details on that. And just to give everyone a sort of an overview of the Great Place to Work program. Thank you, Akshita. So actually, just before that, so we're going to be having a conversation, myself and Joanne, about their experience over 7-8 years now with the Great Place to Work program. We do have a case study, an infographic. Akshita is going to pop the link into the chat now, so you can access it. Thank you, Akshita. So we have a blog there that links to the infographic with Esri to give you just more detail around their story and their journey. So please make sure to check that out. And then from a Great Place to Work point of view, we have a really important mission here where we believe any organization can build a great culture. And we look to partner with organizations to support them along that journey. And I know we have a mix of industries and organizational size on the call. And you just need to log on to our website to get a sense of how we work with people across industries, across companies, across sizes, across scale. Anywhere where we see work being done, we believe that it's important to commit to building a great place to work. And the program itself, just on the next slide, we have, so there's two key elements to the program. We have an employee survey. So all your employees, managers, senior leaders will be surveyed using our Great Place to Work survey tool. We'll run that survey for you. And the survey itself produces 17 insights on 17 key categories, which are on the screen here. So effectively everything you need to know around your work culture, what are we doing well and what can we do better, will be revealed within the survey. And all of the recognition that you see Great Place to Work and clients showcasing is all based on the survey response. We also have a thing called a culture brief, which Joanne will give some insights around how you complete that. That's usually filled in by HR or marketing as part of the program. So 17 key categories the survey covers. We'll give you insights on those category areas. And then the final slide for me before I introduce Joanne. So it's one survey and it's multiple recognition opportunities. So, a number of weeks ago, we launched our best workplaces for health and well-being. We know a number of organizations on the call, do work on their culture, but also you might do some work around health and well-being in terms of looking to achieve recognition in that space. With the one survey, Great Place to Work, you can achieve multiple recognition, including best workplaces for health and well-being. So hopefully that gives you more value for your investment here. So thank you for that. So let's move on to the conversation here, which I'm very much looking forward to having. So Joanne, you're very welcome. What's the weather like where you are?
Well, I'm in Tara Street at the moment. It's sunny here, so no complaints.
Tara Street. Okay. Yeah. We've everywhere covered in Ireland and France as well. So we have it all. We have it all covered. Joanne, just for our audience, you might introduce yourself, your career, who Esri are, just to kind of set the scene for this conversation.
Sure. Morning, everybody. So my name is Joanne McLaughlin, and I head up the marketing function at Esri Ireland. So Esri are the Environmental Systems Research Institute, not to be confused with the Economic and Social Research Institute, which often happens. We are a GIS company, so that's Geographic Information Systems. So basically, we're a digital mapping software and services organization. So we help organizations solve the where part of their problem. So we help them make better decisions using geography, and it's what we call the science of where. So we've been around for about 50 years. In the States, we have our headquarters in Redlands in California, with about 73 offices worldwide and about 6,000 employees. So locally, we work with all sorts of different industries, about 17 different industries on the island of Ireland, from the Guards to the Fire Brigade to Virgin Media, Savills, Sherry Fitzgerald, Cushman Wakefield. It really covers every industry sector. We employ 79 people here, and we have offices or an office in Hollywood in Northern Ireland. We've been around in Ireland from, I'd say, 2002. But most recently in March this year, we made the decision to actually close our Dublin office and pilot a fully remote working environment for our Republic of Ireland employees. So that's going to be a very interesting year from a great place to work and culture perspective, which we might talk about a little bit later. My own career perspective, my background is in business and marketing from DCU. I've worked in FMCG, mostly tech for most of my career. I joined Esri back in 2006, so I've been there quite a long time. And why have I stayed there for so long? I guess it sounds like a cliche, but it is a fantastic place to work, with huge amount of learning opportunities for people who work there, and a lot of people who have been working there, have been there for quite a long time, as well as lots of new people as well. I've done many diplomas since I've been working there, from diplomas in digital marketing, a lot of work through the IMI with Senior Executive Programme and Women in Leadership Programme, Strategic Marketing Management, and then I've also done a Master's in Executive Coaching in 2022. So that's, yeah, probably a reason why it's a place that's always changing and why it's always challenging. Yeah. So
That's great, Joanne. Thank you very much for that. And let's go back 8 years when we were all a little younger 8 years ago.
yeah.
So the start of the program, like why did Esri get involved in the program? Any insights around that?
Yeah, I guess, why do we get involved? We wanted to kind of create a listening organization, and that was our main kind of end in mind. We wanted to create an environment where, as well, we're a data-driven organization, and the whole idea of having data to drive action planning really appeals to us. And we also wanted to prioritize action planning that mattered most to the majority of the people. So where could we make an impact from a business perspective, but also from an employee perspective? We were really curious as well, because we'd seen Great Place to Work out in the market and other people doing it, and we're really interested about finding what it was all about. So we reached out to Breen Sutton on your team, Cahill, and he came and spoke with us and explained what the whole program was about. And we said, okay, this sounds like something that we really want, to find out more and get involved in. We also always believed that we had a high trust culture. Intuitively, we believed that we were a high trust organisation, and we wanted to get the data to support that. And also to find out kind of blind spots and see what we might be missing and what we could do better. I think the other important point about wanting to get involved is we really wanted to be accredited for each other first. So we wanted the acknowledgement of being a high trust workplace internally first. We weren't really driven by the external kudos, although the payoffs of all of that came later. So it wasn't really for us about the ranking. Essentially, it was about being accredited, looking at the culture. And we also wanted to make sure that this was going to be a long-term commitment, not something that we would do for 1 year to get the ranking or get a logo. This was something that was going to evolve and shape how we would do business, what it would feel like to work in Esri Ireland. And then the other thing that made us want to get involved was the fact that the trust survey is conducted by yourselves. That gave it extra credibility, extra gravitas. The amount of detail in the survey that we found out through Brian's explanation and through engaging with yourselves was phenomenal. And again, that was really appealing to us because, we could really work with that and really dive into it and find out, okay, what are we doing well? What are the things that we need to do better? Where are the gaps, and what do we need to do differently? So, yeah.
Brilliant. And before you started with the Great Place to Work program and survey, had you done your own survey before, Joanne? Had you done listening like that before with employees?
We'd done a couple of internal surveys, but like that again, we didn't have the structure or the methodology really. The surveys were, I suppose, ad hoc, and we didn't have that consistency. We didn't have the methodology. They were qualitative, but we didn't have that forensic level of detail that we got through engaging with the trust survey with Great Place to Work. So, yeah.
Brilliant, Joanne. And just with a few questions in around the sort of the practicalities of the program, survey, brief, but how does it work from your end? Like, is it, as a client, the survey, the culture brief, can you talk into the practicalities from your end, from that point of view, Joanne?
Yeah, sure. I think one important point before we even get into that is we were really clear about our values even back in 8 years ago, and I think that's for anybody on the call. It really helped us understand why we wanted to get involved and do the survey as well. Also in terms of our strategy for growth. So, if you're going to commit to doing the survey, it's really important that you're clear on what your strategy is, and that both doing the survey and actually your strategy and your values align, because there's no point in being in an organization where over here you're saying, yes, we want high trust, but your strategy and your values are misaligned. In terms of the process around the survey, it's for us, it's like a well-oiled machine now, but appreciate for people who may not know what it's about. There's a communication element. So, before we issue the survey, we have a group of people, myself and two other people on the strategy team, involved in communicating that the survey is coming, as well as Great Place to Work champs who encourage their peers and employees to get involved and respond. So that is usually probably 2 or 3 weeks before the survey even hits. We put together a culture brief, which needs to be done before the survey is issued to make sure everything is set up properly and people's emails are correct, in terms of the logistics of administering the survey. During the survey, we remind people, why we're doing it, the importance of it. And then after the survey is over, we obviously get the results from yourselves through a management session, which happens for us towards January every year. So we do the survey around October, November time. We get the survey results in January. And then we do a whole process around the data. So a data dive with our Great Place to Work champions and our strategy team. And for us, that takes quite a while. So we never rush that part of it. So for us, that could take anything from a month to 6 weeks to 12 weeks. We're always going back to the data, reviewing it and making sure that we're not missing anything, or if there's patterns that we're seeing, just to, always go back to the data, because that's telling you where you need to focus. We also, from the get-go in year one, we made it our business to share all of the results as they were with everyone in the team. So we share the management report as it is. We share all of the reports that we get in terms of the feedback, the qualitative feedback. Anything that we get from you guys, we put it up on our SharePoint site and we share it out. And then we also have 2 key dates in the year where we have company get together, and we would talk about the survey, what's come through and the results, and then what we're going to action plan off the back of it. So the action planning happens from, I suppose, Q2 right until the end of the year, and it's a continuous feedback loop. So it's ongoing, and it sort of never ends. You don't get to the end of one year and say, okay, that's it. It's a continuous loop, because sometimes it might take 2 years for something to be implemented, and some things can happen very quickly depending on what the feedback is,
Of course, and there's all just some quick fixes. I don't like that term, but things we can fix quicker, and then there's things that are more longer term. And then from a survey point of view, just you'll have a project manager that'll support you through that survey setup and survey administering. And I think one of the reasons why the program is so respected probably in the marketplace is it's based off the employee responses, and it's third party listening. The survey is run by Great Place to Work in partnership with the organization. You
Yeah.
talked here about the data. Sorry, Joanne. Yeah.
I think that's a really key point, is the
Okay.
fact that, you're walking the line along with us, but there's that independent, I suppose, eye on what we're doing. And I think that gives the employees, like, I'm an employee, so it gives me carte blanche as well to say exactly how I feel, and know that that's anonymous feedback. People can be as candid as they want to be. And what we found in the responses as well, particularly the qualitative survey where people can give their open-ended answers to questions, that we get huge engagement with that. So we, out of 79 employees, typically we get maybe like over 50 comments across a number of different questions with quite lengthy responses. So again, I think that's all testament to the fact that it's independently conducted and people feel like it's a safe space for them to be open.
Yeah, and I think, Joanne, people believe in the follow up that you do at Esri, and that's why it's sustained over a number of years. Just interested in sort of data into insights into actions. And I know it's a number of months now when I presented the results, say, to yourself and the leadership team and the internal Great Place to Work team, which we might have a chat about.
Mhm.
Can you take us through maybe some of the learnings, some of the insights that you've got from the data, maybe over the last couple of years?
Sure. Yeah. So, as Cathal said, we've been doing this for quite a long time. I think we're probably one of the longest organizations or in the Great Place to Work community in the top 10 small for this year. And so this year, I suppose we picked out a number of different things for the purposes of this morning to talk about. So one of the areas that came back and that has over a number of years is around the area of flexibility and leave. So we've looked at the whole area of leave and people have been able to take time off and flexibility. So we have given people the option to take extra time off for their birthday, an extra leave day, a wellness day to use whatever way they wish. We also have this year introduced, or last year introduced, a holiday buyback scheme. So people can buy back up to 5 days annual leave a year. And people can flex bank holidays. So if a bank holiday is coming up and it doesn't suit somebody to take it off, they can flex it for another day or add it back into their annual leave pot. We've also looked at policies around compassionate leave to make sure that people are being cared for if they've gone through a loss of any kind. And then we've introduced sabbatical policy as well, so people can take anything from 3 months up to a year's leave away from Esri Ireland to do whatever they wish in terms of travel or time out with families or whatever they want to focus on. Another area that we looked at around well-being and flexibility was our whole VHI care package and vitality for our Northern Ireland employees. So looking at the program itself and making sure that's really robust and that it covers all kind of life stages and life choices for the demographic that we have within the company. So we have people in the organization from 20 years of age right up until retirement age and from 16 different nationalities. And we wanted to make sure that people are covered as well as they possibly can be for any health eventuality. So we've got a really good health cover program. We've also got a really great employee assistance program as well. What other things have we done? Yeah, so we cover things like the flu jab for people if they want to opt into that. There was a suggestion from one of our employees in the North Jordan to have a defib installed in the office there, which we did as well. So like that, you know, what you mentioned earlier, there's things that we can implement quite quickly based on employee suggestions, and then things that take a bit longer and that are part of our systems and processes like the VHI or Vitality and the EAP programs as well. So
And sorry, Joanne, just to say to everyone, what we're looking at here on the screen is these are some questions from the Great Place to Work survey, and we just took some screenshots of the results for Esri, so we can see it here. So the area there of well-being, Anthony, I know you were interested in the questions that we asked. So there's an example. We asked everyone in Esri, I'm able to take time off when I think it's necessary. You can see Esri scored at 96%. They were 87% 2 years ago. And then you can see how they relate to the benchmark. So I just wanted to explain the visuals that are there, Joanne.
Yeah. And then if you look at the second statement there around well-being, so around work-life, 95% up from 89. So that's really encouraging for us because one of our values is work-life balance and flexibility. So for us, that signifies that we're actually living our values and it's not just something that's in a document or on a website. So we're actually living our values, not just professing them. And, you know, the ability for people to take time off work, it came through in the feedback. You know, that's things like I need to go to the dentist, I need to pick my child up from creche or from school, I might need to take time off to take care of an elderly relative or whatever. There's all sorts of iterations of those things, and it was encouraging for us to see the uplift on the figures from last year to this year in the high 90s. So
I might have a look maybe at another visual on the data.
So this relates to a couple of areas. So career and development and reward. I'll hop to reward for a second. So yeah, this is like simply making sure people are paid fairly for the work that they do. And this is for us very straightforward. Making sure that there's merit increases where they're warranted, salary increases, things like increasing the pension contribution. Every year we do an annual cost of living increase in line with inflation. It was particularly high last year, so that was reflected in the cost of living increase. We've also ensured that everybody has access to a financial advisor for in-person meetups to discuss anything from mortgage, pensions, how they invest their money, how they manage budgets, all sorts of financial advice there. And then we have performance-related bonus, which is rewarded every March, depending on how people perform. So there are kind of very specific things around salary, performance, and pay and reward. And again, you can see there from last year to this year, there's been an increase in people's experience of how they're rewarded. And again, that kind of gives us an indication that we're moving in the right direction and people are seeing the actions based on the feedback that they've actually asked for. Similarly, around career and development, people indicated that they want more time for learning and development. So some of the statements here reflect that. So I'm offered training or development to further myself professionally. So here we've done things like making sure that there's non-technical personal learning available. So we're members of the Executive Forum, the Executive Institute, so people can avail of online or in-person events to go and learn about sort of all sorts of programs around leadership, resilience, and they've got a huge range of webinars and in-person events that people can go along to. We also want to create a coaching culture within Esri Ireland. So a few years ago, our managing director did the Masters in Executive Coaching from the Irish Management Institute. And then since then, 3 more of us on the management team have also done it. And the whole idea there, Cathal, is to bring the learning from the coaching course into the business. So what we've done since then is to create a career coach development program. So instead of managers in Esri Ireland, we have career coaches. And the idea there is to create distributed leadership across the business, to increase our panel of career coaches, and to have this kind of coaching mindset and coaching conversation as opposed to feeling like you're being managed or micromanaged. And that for us has been something that we're still working on, but that we can already see is starting to bear fruit.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
What role does the data play in the work, that investment and the work you're doing? How does the data fit in?
I mean, the data is where we start with all of the action planning. That's where we start, and it's not only a pulse, but it gives us an indication of, okay, well, this is what we're all saying as a group of employees. These are the areas that we need to look at. If we're doing something well, we don't take our eye off the ball. So we look at, the areas where we're performing well, what we've done well last year, and how kind of what incrementally the improvements are, and making sure that we continue to maintain that. But it also highlights kind of gaps and maybe where we need to focus, which is kind of a nice segue to the next slide. Around culture. So I mentioned earlier on the call that our ROI, or Republic of Ireland employees, are now fully remote as of March of this year. And this is something that we're going to have to, I suppose, really think about deeply in terms of how we get together for a social connection as well. So you'll see here in the survey statements, they're all, again, pretty high in terms of where we're rating. But there's 2 there in terms of how we celebrate special events and it being a fun place to work that my eye is immediately drawn to. And again, they're still quite high, 87% and 73%. But what we're trying to do this year is to facilitate opportunities for our employees and our whole company to meet up socially, because obviously we want to make sure that we maintain a really healthy culture, and make those opportunities for people to get together, not just about the work, but also in a social way. And that's going to be a major focus for our Great Place to Work team for 2024 into 2025.
And I'm conscious we're looking at year on year data. If we had to put the data from year one, 7, 8 years ago to where we were in the recent survey, again, we've been on such an amazing journey in terms of improvement in these areas.
Yes, yeah. I think that was again, like the celebration number was down, I think maybe in the 30s when we started. So we've done a huge amount of work to improve that
Yeah,
over the last 7 years. Yeah.
some of these key questions you've improved by 40, sometimes almost 50% since you started the program, which is incredible. I know, Anthony, just the piece you made there around the remote working, Anthony was asking around how you do that well-being piece given the remote piece, but the big focus is around trying to build those connections and those connection moments.
Yes, yeah. So we have a body of work to do to create a kind of social calendar for 2025, which we're working on at the moment. And using our technology, because it's a mapping technology platform, we've mapped where all of our employees are around the country, and also drive times to see, okay, if we are going to be doing events, where's the best place for us to host those events so people aren't driving for ages. So yeah, we're trying to be clever about how we do things. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. But I suppose you have to remember that as well. Probably 95% of our workforce have been working remotely for quite some time, since 2020. So it's not a huge seismic shift, but we still need to make sure that we're meeting socially.
Let, let's let Thank you, Joanne. Let's have a chat about the brand, right? The other elements. So conscious of so number of years in the program, you can see by your data, very high trust culture, which is great to see. With that, it's not the reason, but with that comes great recognition from Great Place to Work. How do you see the value of that recognition that you get, Joanna? Is there value?
For us, there's enormous value. So our brand strategy, so we're a small marketing team. There's myself and Caitlin in my team, and also Nikita. They're two fantastic marketeers. So really lucky that they're on our team and they do great work. So our marketing strategy has to be very simple. It's around 4 pillars: brand, customer advocacy, our technology capabilities, and new customer growth. If it was very complicated, we wouldn't get anything done, because we are only 3 people. So our Great Place to Work certification is really core to our brand strategy. It helps us in so many different ways. It helps us compete against other major tech brands that are looking for talent in the marketplace. It helps us engage with our own employees in terms of opportunities for them to profile themselves as well. It helps us build our brand personality and humanize the brand. And it also, I suppose, helps us amplify our brand story beyond our own community of customers. I think as well, because we're a small team, we have a small budget, so it galvanizes all of those elements together and really gives kind of gravitas to what we're doing. So we use it in lots of different ways, from our social, our website. We put together brand campaigns using the data from the Trust Survey to show, different areas where we do good things. So we really take it and use it to, maximum advantage. We use it to storytell. We have a strategy around when we post over social media, so people are constantly seeing the Great Place to Work feed. And obviously customers want to deal with a company that treats their employees with dignity and respect. So it really does, elevate who we are beyond our size. So.
Brilliant, Joanne. And you talked about how you activate the brand there, right? And we might have a visual coming up now just around how you do that. We might show the visual, Joanne, and if you don't mind, maybe just speaking into kind of what it is and how you use it.
Yeah, sure. So we have an area on our website that's dedicated to Great Place to Work, and that features kind of sound bites from employees across the business. We also, as I was saying there, we have a program of social media kind of posts that would play to a Great Place to Work or what we're doing around employee advocacy. And we have a routine of doing that each week so that people are constantly made aware of some of the practices around Great Place to Work or news around some of the reports that might be coming out that we're featured in. So we use every opportunity to talk about it over social media. As I was saying before, we look at the data within the feedback that we get and see, okay, well, how can we turn this data into employee advocacy campaigns? So we've done like 3 or 4 campaigns around that, and we'll probably do one towards Q3, Q4 this year. We use it to profile our people in press stories as well. We use it through all of our PR, and we use it through our customer storytelling. We basically weave it through as many places as we can.
That's great, Joanna. We might show the next visual here just to bring that piece to life. I think we've one more around the brand. So is this how you use the data in your employer branding or your storytelling?
Yeah, so this is just a couple of examples. So you'll see on the right there, pride in our work and proud of each other. So there are some of the statements that we showed earlier, just converted into kind of infographics to show, that we're a diverse organization, or how management might communicate transparency around how we are as a business. So it kind of just brings the data in the trust survey to life in a way that other organizations can recognize and relate to as well. So like here we've picked themes around teamwork, pride, our customers, and belonging. And looked at the data, tried to bring it to life, and then, shared that over our brand campaigns over social and to our customers as well. Another area that we also make use out of is our Great Place to Work portal on the Great Place to Work Ireland site. So we would drive traffic to that as well. And that's a place that you guys through Great Place to Work provide us with for free. And it's another place where you can tell your story around your Great Place to Work journey. So that's great. So.
A unique space on third-party Great Place to Work website. You can drive your looking for applicants and job ads. You can drive traffic into talent journey towards that space as well, and it helps them, I guess, get a sense as to who Esri really are.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, you're kind of successful by association because you're up there with all of the other companies who are doing fantastic work as well. So.
It's probably a good moment with this visual actually to bring in a question from Nick from Compass, which I thought was a great question, very interesting. How do your employees feel about being a great place to work?
I think so. Yeah, we've been in this kind of journey for 8 years. I feel employees are really bought into the Great Place to Work ethos. I don't think it's something that we do in a siloed way. I feel like it's how we talk, how we behave, how we do things. Build trust is one of our growth aspiration statements, so it's at the heart of how we do business. Do right by each other is another growth aspiration statement, and again, that's all underpinned by what we're doing around Great Place to Work. I think employees really believe in what we're doing because of their engagement with the survey and because of the feedback that they provide. They're always suggesting things that we can do better. I think what's been good as well is actually being clear about the things that we've been able to action, and also being clear about some of the things that we can't action for business reasons or whatever. So I think employees appreciate the transparency and the honesty and integrity around that too. I really feel like we're the better for engaging with Great Place to Work. I definitely don't think we're the same company we were 8 years ago because of it, and for the better. So I really feel like it's part of who we are. I don't think it's a separate thing. I think it's who we are and how we do things. It's just part of who we are now. Yeah.
And I'm sure, Joanne, you have conversations about not doing it as well, right? So how, like, is that a conversation that comes up every year, or how does that play out?
Yeah, I mean, I think like any business, you know, you at the end of the year, you always ascertain, okay, like what do we stop doing? Do we start doing something else? Is this something that we should continue? How do people feel if we stop doing Great Place to Work? And I think the overwhelming sentiment is absolutely continue. You know, people like to work for a great workplace where they can, you know, as well as the wellness piece, where it's a wholeness piece where they can bring their whole self to work, where they have opportunities to progress, where they're treated with respect, you know, where good things are celebrated. And yeah, I think people are fully supportive of that. So
It's interesting. You go out to employees. Is this something we still need to do? And they come back and say, look, let's keep doing it. And again, that's because the actions and the value that you put around the actions. We might take a couple of questions, Joanne, right, and then we might just do a wrap up if that's okay for
yeah.
everyone. So one question from Joanne and David, it's a similar question. So it's and I think you talked about it at the start. They don't have a HR structure in place, and not a huge amount of resource. Is it something they should? Is there value in still doing it, or how do you feel about
Yeah, so I can completely relate to that. When we started Great Place to Work, we didn't have a HR structure in place either. So that has happened since in the last couple of years, where we have our own HR function within Esri Ireland. We always had it out of our Esri UK organisation, so now we have our own HR function. We started small, so we had a strategy team, myself, Andrew, and Marie. And then we grew over time with our champions as well. So we have 7 champions. So I think if you start small and you manage expectations, I think it's completely doable without having a major team. I mean, we're not a big team of people. And once you have a plan, your end in mind, you have a strategy for your business, you know what your values are, I think you can start small and evolve it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have a perfect place to work to start a Great Place to Work. I think you start and you use the data to see, okay, what are we doing well? Because you will always be doing some things well, and then where can you get better?
that? We're doing this a long time. We're yet to see a perfect workplace, but we'll keep an eye out. I don't think we'll see it. In terms of just a wrap up, Joanne, like key takeaways for an audience that are curious about Great Place to Work for their business. Any thoughts around that?
Key takeaways, I suppose, in terms of what Esri has got out of it, like lots of things from a business perspective. I don't think we would have had the confidence to pilot a fully remote working environment if we didn't have high trust culture. So I think that's been massive. From a business perspective, all of our numbers in terms of our employee numbers, we were only 36 people when we started Great Place to Work. We're almost 80 now. Our revenue, our profit, all of the bottom line numbers have just continuously grown since we started. I don't think that's a coincidence. From a marketing point of view, our brand awareness has increased, brand recall at interviews, people presenting for interviews have all come and spoken about Great Place to Work unprompted. I also think from a HR perspective, attrition rate is very low in Esri Ireland. Agents, you know, we don't use agencies anymore. We promote 80% of our internal promotions, promotions last year were internal. So look, it's got so many different pluses. And I think the pride that people have from working in a great workplace is huge. I also think an important takeaway is to reach out to the community of people within Great Place to Work. So I would always follow people on LinkedIn or organizations who are doing great stuff. Like Distilled is a company I would follow. There are a few, so Aileen Bailey, Laura Doyle at Distilled, Aileen Bailey from IRFU, Tara from Genesis, Neve O'Connor from CPL. So I have people that I follow on LinkedIn, and they would post about the programs and practices they do, and it's a great way of seeing what's going on. The other takeaway for somebody new to the program who's curious is to look at all of the resources that are available through, you know, the webinars like this, the podcast that you do, events. So go along to events, talk to other people. I think the special reports that come out are a fantastic resource, because if you go through the best workplace in tech for women, for healthy, you'll see all of the programs and practices that other organizations are doing, and it gives you great ideas for inputting into your own organization. So look, I mean, it's kind of limitless. I think as well, my final takeaway would be, you know, you need to accept that sometimes you'll get it wrong, and that's okay. And also accept that your culture is always going to be changing. But if you have the data and you're listening, and you're actioning, I think, and your intent is in the right place, I think you'll be okay.
Joanne, you talked there about the community, right, and the network that you've built up, other great workplaces, and how you're learning from them. You've been a great giver as well to the community, and people have learned a huge amount from you and your journey. And I know that's really appreciated from other organisations that are on the Great Place to Work program. Great cultures need great people. It's very clear that Esri Ireland are lucky to have you, and leading the charge around the culture over the last 7 or 8 years, along with your colleagues, right? And I just want to congratulate you on the success you've had in that, and the journey and the story that you've built so far. The journey continues, right? But I want to congratulate you on that, and really appreciate you taking the time out. Suzanne, Jackie, Emma, and others have really thanked you for the insights you've given on this call. Reen has been a bit nostalgic. He's gone back, can't believe it, 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
We really appreciate your partnership at Great Place to Work. So I want to thank you, Joanne, for your time, the audience for joining us. Actually, thank you very much for all the support and all the Great Place to Work team. We really appreciate it. For anyone that was curious on the call, I hope you got some insights around the value of the program. There is no perfect time to begin. Now is the time to start. But thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you. Bye-bye.